And we are recording. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the February regular scheduled council meeting. It is Wednesday, February 19th. It is 7:01 p.m. and I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is the consent calendar. And I would ask if there are any questions. If not, I would look for a motion and a second to move that forward.
I move to approve the consent calendar for February.
I'll second that. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Open forum. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who would like to bring up something for discussion or information? Not regarding something that's already on the agenda. Seeing none, we will move on to the police department presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for 2019, we had quite a bit of activity. And as you can see, we've had 283 agency assists, 2,364 calls for service, 1,329 self-initiated calls, 1,001 assigned calls, 47 criminal citations, 215 traffic citations, 884 traffic warnings, 136 medical calls, and 100 alarms, and 92,197 patrol miles, and 128 arrests. So your police department has 5 officers. This is Luke Hall. He is the most senior officer now. Believe it or not, he looks like he's 12, I know. But he is older than that. I think he's 14. Luke's from Brainerd. He's been with the department for, I think, coming up on 4 years. This is Jeremy Rooney. He's also from Pequot, and he has been with the department for 3 years, I believe. This is Todd Szymanski's from Pequot, and he has been here, I think, around 3 years, 2.5 years, something like that. Connor Collette, he's 12 too, and he's been here just coming up on a year, and he's from Brainerd. Maybe some of you know his family. A lot of Collettes around. He's related to all of them. And this is our newest officer, Matthew Thompson. He's been here a couple months, and he's in training now. He's actually going to be getting off of training soon. He's doing a really very good job, and we're looking forward to having him on the team. He's been a good addition to the department. And we'd like to just let you know that we appreciate the work that Maggie does for us. She does a lot of things, actually, and she makes our job quite a bit easier, and we really appreciate the work she does for us. She does a great job. So, when we talk about traffic stops and whatever, a lot of times when a police officer makes a traffic stop, the reason for the stop really has nothing to do with what's happening. And as a result of, traffic stops for traffic violations, we've had a lot of drug arrests, a lot of them. And in the course of doing drug investigations, a lot of marijuana has been recovered. This is the new vaping. It's kind of, to me it's new. I don't know, maybe it's been going on a while, but This is what you see a lot of times now with younger kids. They're doing the vaping with THC. Still not legal in Minnesota, but who knows. This is a test result for meth. That blue means that there was meth in whatever was tested. More marijuana. This is methamphetamine. This is drug paraphernalia. Obviously, these baggies contain meth, or at least did at one point. Spoon, they cook the meth in the spoon, they draw it up into the syringe and inject it. Along with drugs, a lot of times there's money closely related. So we have confiscated and forfeited over the years quite a bit of cash from drug dealers and whatever. I don't know how much for the last year. I know a couple of years ago I think we did $6,000 in one traffic stop though, $6,000 in cash. Nothing that big this year. Also, we have recovered some illegal firearms, or at least confiscated firearms that were in the possession of somebody that is prohibited from having them. This is a firearm that's being sent to the BCA for examination. Really no reason for someone to have a shotgun like this, other than to conceal it. However, this is legal, technically, with the length. It did meet the legal requirements, but you can see firearms and drugs kind of go hand in hand, which is probably kind of scary if you think about it. Traffic safety, that's one of our goals. We do participate in the Towards Zero Death grant, which means that we do extra saturation patrols throughout the county. We'll do them outside of the jurisdiction of Nisswa, as well as other jurisdictions will come into Nisswa to do saturation patrols here. But we still have had a number of serious accidents. Some of them are even our own. What do they say, through rain, sleet, and snow? Here we are. Some of the training that we have to do, some of the required training is defensive tactics. As you can see, somebody's fixing to get a whooping. We have a member of our department is on the drone team. Crow Wing County has a drone team that is called out for various things. Sometimes it's searches for lost children, searches for suspects. Sometimes they're called to just get an overall aerial view of the land on maybe a tactical call out where they don't call them a SWAT team here, but the equivalent of a SWAT team, so you can see what the terrain is and what the lay of the land looks like. We also obviously participate in a lot of community events. That's Toys for Tots that we did last December. The lighting of the luminaries in this lighting ceremony. That's probably the parade. And then, I don't know how many of you know about our K-9 program. Anybody? Still in training. That's it. Any questions?
So you've been here 15, 20, how long?
24 years.
Yeah. So briefly, in your time since you started in Nisswa, what do you think some of the biggest differences that you guys run into? Is it meth, I would guess, is probably...
I think there's more drugs.
Yeah.
But I do think, in a lot of ways, it's gotten a lot better. We don't have, I'll knock on wood, as soon as I say this, it's going to happen, but we don't have multiple cabins broke into over a winter anymore, mostly because there's more people around and we don't have as many vacant cabins. You know, it's pretty hard to commit crimes when there's, you know, eyes and ears around. So that's part of it. Like I said, I think there are more drugs. I think that traffic safety has gotten safer. And I imagine part of that is the road design through Nisswa is better. You know, we have 4-lane through, you know, on the whole highway now instead of 2-lane. The 2 lanes where a lot of the accidents did occur. Also, the limiting of access onto the highway, having less points to get on the highway, makes it safer. So I think, you know, it is better in a lot of ways, but I do think there's a lot more drugs. At least we're detecting more drugs now than we used to. I think DUIs are still, you know, as much education and awareness has been made about drinking and driving. It's you know, arresting as many people for DUIs as we ever have. And we're getting more, let's say, I'll just call it computer crimes, you know, scams. People are making, you know, whereas years ago maybe you'd make a threat face-to-face, now it's done over a text message, and, you know, so more research and information gathering through computers than there used to be. I'd say mostly that. I mean, I think, John, you know, it used to be a lot where there aren't any fights in bars anymore, per se. You know, it used to be there would be 2 a weekend. So it's better in a lot of ways, but I think the drugs are worse.
Do you think, or do you feel that a lot of the drugs and or guns, illegal guns, that are they just passing through, or is it a
I would say
residential thing?
I would say most of them are passing through. I mean, Nisswa has its fair share of, you know, people that engage in that, but I think a lot of times it's people that are from the south that are going north, farther north than Walker. So, but we're doing our best to detect them and find them and take them to jail. I know one of the things that has changed recently is I've been in 2 pursuits in my whole life, and one of them really wasn't that much of a pursuit. Well, there's Connor, who's been here a year, has been in like 4 of them already. And I don't know why, but people run now. And we've had lots of pursuits in the last couple of years. So I don't have an answer for you as to why that is. It's just people are different, things are different, and I think maybe there is a negative attitude about police that people feel more compelled to want to get away. There isn't as much respect as there used to be. Used to be people pretty nice on the streets. Now they aren't sometimes. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but we haven't had the last few. You know, 2019. I'm not gonna lie, wasn't the greatest year for the Nisswa Police Department either. But you know, the last few years, there have been a lot of bad publicity for police all over the entire country. So, any other questions?
2 questions, if I might. Your experience with your body cam so far?
Yeah, they're a pain. There's a lot of work that has to go along with it. You have to watch the videos. We're going to have to submit to an audit pretty soon to where they will review if we're using them appropriately, using them when we should be using them, not using them when we shouldn't be using them, and making sure the content on them is appropriate, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I wanted to bring some video here for you to watch of body cam footage, but I really couldn't figure out how to do it, and I couldn't figure out how to get the language off of it to make it appropriate for your sensibilities. So I couldn't do it. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. But if you want to stop in, I'll show you sometime.
Second question, in your monthly report for February, you had one item that I could read 2 ways. It says, the new squad that we ordered in early 2019 arrived and has been rigged and is not in use. Did you mean it's all ready to go, but you're not using it, or What did you mean?
Well, I don't know what I meant then, but it's being used now. So it's in service, and the next one should be coming, I hope, in the next short time. But, because as you recall, that the squad we just got was ordered last year. Actually, yeah, early last year. So there was quite a bit of lag time with Ford, and hopefully the next one comes in not such a long time.
What training challenges are you facing?
Well, there's new requirements now for, de-escalation and all that stuff. So that's going to be a challenge to figure out where we're going to do that at, and getting everybody through it and not affect the schedule. But other than that, I mean, training is built into what we're doing, and, we prepare for it, and, we'll complete it, so. The city's been good with our budget, so we can afford to train. We're in good shape as far as officers being able to go to training and find training that is pertinent to what they're doing here.
I know you mentioned the pursuit thing. That's why new officers are getting their pursuit training and their
Yeah,
training.
everybody in the department is PIT certified.
Okay.
Not that we really want to be doing PITs,
Right.
but they can do it. And we have had some damages here at squad cars for pursuits.
Okay.
Well, that's bound to happen sooner or later.
It can, yeah, it does. We try to minimize it, and hopefully we don't, I don't want to waste your time with all that, but we try to make it as safe as we can.
What do you have on your agenda for 2020 as far as improvements and?
Well, probably the main thing is we need to promote a sergeant, so that'd probably be the main thing. I do have to get through this audit, which I know that's pretty time consuming. Other departments have had them. There's a lot of preparation and you have to provide materials to the auditor before they even come and do it, so that's probably my main thing right now. But we do need to do promotion, and then make sure that the new guys are trained appropriately and ready to go and ready for the summer.
Any other questions for the police chief?
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Reports. City administrator, number one.
Good evening, members of the council. I don't have anything outside of the new business items tonight that I'll kind of walk the council through as we go through the meeting, so unless there's questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions? No? Jenny? Okay. City attorney, Mr. Pearson, do you have anything right now?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No, I don't have anything, but I've got a bunch of things coming up in the general agenda, so you'll hear me talking then.
Okay. Very good. Mark, city engineer, you have anything right now for us?
Yeah, good evening. Just one item from the standpoint, I wasn't here in January, but your plans and specifications for the wastewater treatment plant facility have been submitted to the MPCA here, Brian Fitzpatrick and Baxter. So they are being reviewed by the state of Minnesota. Won't expect comments back here till, the end of, more the middle of March or whatever, but, in January we did, or early February, we did submit the plans in. And then I have other items on the, under new business tonight related to the wastewater plant or other projects.
Okay. Very good. We'll look forward to hearing from you more then. New business. Number one under new business is Camp Lincoln Road Park presentation.
Good evening, Council. My name is Matthew with the Parks Department. I'm the director. Is it possible to bring that presentation up? We have a presentation that we'll be presenting to the Crow Wing County Natural Resources Committee. We are looking to Our request to the county is going to be to convey some properties, tax forfeited properties down Camp Lincoln Road from the county to the city for purposes of a public space. We have some preliminary plans for a nature park, which will be right next to the Hole in the Day Wildlife Preserve that the city already has on its books. I have presented it. It's in your packet. I don't know if you want me to go through it. This is the second time that I've presented it to the council. This is the final iteration of that request to Crow Wing County. There will be, to my knowledge, 2 additions to it, and they are both letters of support from both area residents and from an area organization down there on Lake Hubert. So there'll be a couple of letters of support for our request from the area residents down near those tax forfeited properties for the presentation to the county. But that is what I have on the agenda tonight. What we are looking for is your approval on the presentation and offer you guys an opportunity to offer any feedback or any requests or changes, omissions, anything like that to the presentation that we put forward. We did assemble a small committee to put this together, which included myself, Amber and Justin from the Parks Commission, and then 2 area residents, Monica Anderson Lee and Don DeLine. So 2 of them that live down in the area, taxpayers here in Nisswa, 2 people from the Parks Advisory Commission, and myself put this presentation together.
I read it. I talked to Matthew about it too.
If you'd like to.
Yeah, I read it, and it looks pretty good, but I have, the question is a little bit outside the boundaries, but not a lot. You talk about a completed project involving parking and restrooms and some other things. Did the committee look at the costs for doing that and where those funds would come from, whether it come out of the regular yearly appropriations or something special, or what are you looking at?
We have no funding for the project right now. That will come once. We needed a presentation, a plan for the county for the space, the public space, and this is the plan that the special committee came up with in partnering with our advisory commission as well. So once we get the parcels, then we will worry about future planning there. But we needed to submit a plan as part of the presentation to the county to specify what the use will be. I have been notified by several people that there would be plenty of volunteers down in that area to help support the project. I have an intern coming in again this summer, and we're going to put them to work on this project and fundraising and doing some of the labor out there. In a way, we're fortunate where a portion of these tax forfeited properties have already been logged, so there is actually a pretty good sized clearing on the north end where the future gravel parking lot would go. So there wouldn't be a whole lot to go into something like that. And the whole purpose of this plan is to keep everything as close to nature as possible. And so it won't be pavement. It won't be anything like that. It'll be a portable biffy and some information signs is about what we're going to put into that parking lot area. So.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we authorize the committee to move forward and apply the application to Crow Wing County.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Johnson. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good job, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Item 3, public hearing. Vacate a portion of Pine Avenue.
2.
Oh, sorry. Support, checked it off in anticipation. Support for Lakeshore Grant application for the Gull Lake Trail funding.
Probably not. We have a request from the City of Lakeshore to offer a letter of support for their grant request for the Federal Recreational Trail Program application that they're putting in. The application is due at the end of this month. This is the same grant that Nisswa was approved for last year. We received $140,625. Well, we haven't received it yet, but when the project begins, we'll have access to it. And they're doing a very similar project that's going to go towards their portion of the Gull Lake Trail as well. One of the benefits to this grant is that it is a federal grant, so it is available to be used as matching funds to any other state grants that are applied for. So it is a great opportunity for the city of Lakeshore and for Nisswa to complete this last portion of the Gull Lake Trail in the future.
Any questions for Matthew?
I'd make a motion to approve and sign a letter of support for the city of Lakeshore's application for grant writing for the Gull Lake Trail funding.
Second?
Second.
Okay, second by Jacobson. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Item 3, public hearing, vacate a portion of Pine Avenue on the plat of Nisswa Park.
Mr. Mayor, I move we open the public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
seconded by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in a public hearing.
Would you like me to explain the item before you? So before you tonight, we have received what I'll refer to as the amended application for vacating a portion of Pine Avenue. The council declared the preliminary application material sufficient at its meeting a month or two ago, and tonight, so we set notices out, we published in the paper. I've received no comments from anyone in the public, and so tonight the council can decide whether or not to approve the vacation request for that portion. The application was completed by the property owners that are directly impacted, so there are no other impacted property owners that aren't a part of this application or impacted by the vacation. So just for the council's reference. And I don't think I missed any of the details, Tom? No?
The only detail is that because of the sort of nature of what we had here, the way this started and then the way this one sprung from the earlier one, the city waived application fee on this and did some other things, but there is not typically with these, there'd be a legal description that would describe what's being vacated. We really don't have that. We have a drawing with a picture which shows what's being vacated. And so I probably can't do what I need to do with the county with this to follow up on a notice of vacation. So if you're inclined, and this didn't come up earlier because I didn't know if you were inclined to approve this or not, but my recommendation is that if you do, that it be contingent on legal being supplied, paid for by the applicant. And my preference would be to have Mark's team draw that up so we make sure that we've got the right legal description.
I have what kind of vague, so what sort of legal fees besides our self-recording of the property, if we so choose, would there be?
I don't know how you record something that is a picture. And typically, when you have a road vacation, there's a legal description for what's being vacated so that it can be recorded. So that's the issue.
I guess my concern is it seems pretty open-ended if you're going to, if that expense is to the petitioner or us that signed the application.
Yes.
Where does that happen?
Well, I think that you can be in touch with the city. I don't want to speak for Mark here, but you can be in touch with the city engineer to find out what that entails and what that would cost, so you can understand that. But in order to do what's necessary to follow up an action like this, there's a recording necessary with the county, and as I said, I can't record it the way it is.
Whether this applies or not, I talked to a surveyor, and he said what he thought happened is a notice attached to each lead at the county, and then it's only any recording after that is only necessary when there's some sort of action that occurs on that property, sold or for me to acquire that or anybody, I guess, for that matter. So this is something over and above that, right?
apply for legal description?
If you want, if the council approves this contingent on a legal description being supplied, which describes what's being vacated to fill in this blank, then we would review it, but there would probably be a review charge because I would want to make sure that that's the right legal description. Okay?
Sure.
So you're free to do that if you'd like, but I probably still would pass that by the city engineer in order to make sure it's valid, because this is city property. You're asking for us to vacate it.
Correct.
They're talking about vacating it. You might then do a follow-up action afterwards or not with respect to title, but we're required to do something by law if this happens in recording with Crow Wing County, and this is a problem the way it is.
I guess I was just wondering if we have survey of choice, if that would be adequate to supply the city and the county with a legal description.
Well,
That is double dipping.
Well, subject to verification, I would run that by our people.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Council? Questions, concerns? If not, a motion.
Mayor, I'll move the council affirm the resolution as presented by staff tonight and authorize the mayor and the city administrator to sign such documents as may be necessary, subject to legal review for completeness.
Second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item E4, approval of temporary liquor license and temporary beer license agreement for the Brainerd J.C.'s.
Mr. Mayor, we need to close the public hearing.
Okay, I apologize. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by
I beat him.
Brian. Maybe quicker but louder for sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are back to our regularly scheduled program. Item E4, approval of temporary liquor license and temporary beer license agreement for the Brainerd J.C.'s April 24th, 25th, 2020 Run for the Lakes.
This application is submitted by the J.C.'s annually for their event. We have Mike here.
1/23/2020. Well, we should really be dated today, the days when we're doing it.
Sure, we can make that change, yeah. I think it was just when it was submitted.
Thank you, Don. Any further questions? If not, motion.
I make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license and temporary beer license for the Brainerd J.C.'s on April 24th, 25th, 2020 Run for the Lakes.
Second.
Seconded by Hoff. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, have fun. Item E5, construction cost share agreement for the reconstruction of roadways under the jurisdiction of Crow Wing County and the city of Nisswa. Who would like to tackle that?
I can get us started off, sure. So this is the cost share agreement proposal for the intersection project at 371 and County Roads 1377 that we've been talking about for a while, and the county has gone through their bid process and is working on pre-construction items. As you might have seen, there's some staging going on and some of those things. As you know, the county went through their process to update their cost share agreement, and we wanted to wait until that was completed at the county level to then bring it to the city council with updated financial information as far as what our local cost share will be as part of this project. Initially, about a year ago, we were looking at about $320,000 for our cost of this project, and it is now down to $180,000 and some change. A large portion of that, about 90,000, is due to the trail and the right-of-way acquisition in front of the Lutheran Church of the Cross and the new bank. So that was a local decision that we made, wanting to have that incorporated into the project. But otherwise, the costs have gone down substantially from where they started. And I discussed with the county, and they were agreeable to a 3-year payback that will start in year 2021, so it won't even start for another year, and then roughly $60,000 per year. We started budgeting for county road projects in our budget. We'll slowly keep adding to that, so we'll probably spend a little bit more on the front end with this project, but over the next few years, we will pay that back, assuming we keep that line item in our budget. Any questions?
Do the
Pretty
three,
rare things go down.
What's that?
Pretty rare that the cost of things go down.
Yes, certainly an improvement, yes.
I had a question on the bottom of page 2.
Okay.
The $180,000 for the city, the right-of-way cost for us is $55,900. That is only for the section in front of the church that we've already agreed to?
Yes, I would say there may have been a very small portion for another part of the project, but 95% is related to the church, and that was, the other part was budgeted as part of
So
the project.
anything else outside of tonight that we do, we're required to pay that in full, right?
Yes.
How do you handle change orders on something like this?
Mark, do you have any?
All right, well, they say for curb and gutters, if there is a change, then, Steve Stroshine is the engineer for the county. He would bring that to the city, but from the standpoint of, if there's a change made. But I would have to, offer from the standpoint, there are the approved plans, we have the unit prices, so, I'll guess down, it would be, are there some underground, whenever you work underground storm sewer, there could be a change. And, so then the unit prices would be used in the contract. So if we added 15 feet of 12-inch RCP pipe for some reason, it would be at the contract price, and then a change order would have to come through the contractor. The city would have to approve it because they're a share of their costs, for that.
So the city would have to approve any change orders up or down?
Yes, from the standpoint for, I'll say, city-initiated portions of the project. Now, if it's something the county initiates out in the field and they find, because of a utility, they got to move something around, they add 15 more feet of curb and gutter, what I'll offer, if that's in the city, that they're going to approve that and do that, and just per your agreement, you're going to pay for it. Yep.
Right.
And it is, because like you say, they use the word estimated. So I'll just offer, on that 105,000, figure that number could go up $1,000 or $2,000 depending on what they finally find in the field and how they complete the project.
So a question that I have regarding this is, the city had talked about, or I shouldn't say the city, the county had, I believe, brought up a figure of around $90,000 for the path, the walking path area, right away, and so on. I don't remember off the top of my head what that included and what did not include. Looking at the city's costs here, the right-of-way property, 56,000 basically. The other 125,000 thereabouts, within a few dollars. To me, can somebody explain exactly what that is? Are we back kind of to where we're paying for county road and they don't pay for city streets when we do on that discussion? Myself, if that's the case, I'm not necessarily in favor of this.
Some of that cost is for the trail that the council approved to do completely. We had talked about maybe just purchasing the right-of-way and leaving it for the time being, so we did say, let's just get it all done and not have to mess with that again later. So part of that 125 is for that piece of it. Their cost share policy will call out if there's something that would be split 50-50 between county and local, 75-25. So any curb and gutter portions is probably, we're seeing a local percentage there where we have to pay. So based on their design, they're going to use the quantities in the formula, the way that their cost sharing update has been updated. So there's a big spreadsheet that I could share with you on that. But they kind of did the math, and this is where we ended up, much improved from where we started. Certainly in understanding the issue of county roads versus city roads and, whose responsibility of that is. But there's certainly a benefit, I think, to the city to have the improved dedicated left turn lanes and the improvement with this project in our city as well. I don't know if I answered, but I tried.
You did.
So.
And
Short answer is yes.
The short answer is yes, and I've got you. I'm not quite riding the same rainbow with that thought of the cost sharing. I really thought that the county would do a better job at this than what they've come back with. Being that we are one of the first, I look at this solely as cost of the city, but we are also the guinea pig because we are going to be one of the first people who either accept or reject their new policy. And when we talked about this some months back, it was like, I believe there was fairly good indication to the county that we were not very agreeable at all with paying for their road when they don't pay for ours. So I think, and they did say that we have the right to not go to disagree, and matter of fact, I think Don may have been asking questions about that at that time. So, that's my concern. I think, I'm not buying what the county's selling, is what I'm saying in short. So I don't know how the council feels about it. I think we should probably each kind of give our thoughts. But the county does not participate in our streets, and I think fair enough. And they're the ones that are getting the 0.5% sales tax, and we are not. If it's their cost, I think they should bear it. That's my thoughts.
Mr. Mayor, there's another question. And I think this may be for Tom. It's on the bottom of page 3 of the agreement. It talks about maintenance, and it lists a whole bunch of things that the county considers to be maintenance. Roadway signs, street lights, trails, pedestrian crossing, curb and gutter. Do you have a good, clean understanding with the county of what the city will maintain and what they will maintain? Or is this kind of a mishmash and under maintenance, which would be over and above the cost we're looking at?
What are you responsible for now?
Typically, would be anything to serve the city. There's a sign that pays for the system. That sign is not. You mentioned curb and gutter. If the curb and gutter became clogged in some way, you may clean it. Especially if it's our side streets that's causing the clog.
So really, a difference between now and what is going to be there, the main difference is curb and gutter, right? Other than there's going to be turn lanes, it's going to be a bigger intersection stuff, but...
Yeah, I guess I'm not exactly sure what more they want us to do. It may be a situation similar to, if you remember a few years back, Jerry, when the state put in those signals at that intersection, and we became responsible for the cost of making them. The county's probably trying to make them responsible for that.
Okay.
So those signals are MnDOT signals.
Right, but the county is altering that to this project.
But maintenance of this, other than painting, we're not responsible for the maintenance of them, electronics, et cetera, failures of control boards, that kind of stuff.
Yes, we are.
But like, a few years ago, we did get a bill.
Okay, so we are.
Painting,
Okay.
and they do the work.
Does MnDOT bill us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to bring up those 10 points, because if we think that it's going to cost us $180,000, and that's the end of it, we're going to get maintenance costs every year thereafter to maintain some of these things. I think it'd be a good idea up front for each side to know exactly what we're responsible for, so that there's no confusion later on.
I mean, there's, supporting what Don's bringing up, is nowhere in here does it say that we are anything but committed to basically whatever they say, because there is no definition, there is no description. It does say surfacing. And I mean, things that may be a little out of the normal, stormwater system, pedestrian crossings, painting, I suppose, intersection control systems, street light systems, standard roadway signs. I don't see MnDOT or the county paying any of that for the city. So I, myself, at the very minimum, I would like to see the city sit down, or request a definition of exactly what that is and what our responsibilities are. And then decide if we're going to get together and negotiate it out with them, or if there's common ground.
I apologize that I probably missed including a copy of the policy, because it is defined in their policy. I just didn't include that because I didn't know if that would be relevant, but that information is explained and available to us, so.
So the maintenance part of their policy is reflected in this article, or in this proposal?
Correct. I mean, so we could reference their policy to get definitions for these items to understand what the cost breakdown is. I just didn't realize that was a question, so I missed that.
The fact that it's there and there is something, just the way I think about it, if they're asking us to pay for any of it, I would want to have a face-to-face discussion, negotiation with them.
But potentially, it's not anything that's changed, it just might have actually gotten on a piece of paper at this point in their policies.
This is a
right?
lot more expensive than your average county road intersection. This could be big
Oh,
dollars
absolutely.
in comparison. And that's the
Potentially,
difference.
yes.
That's the difference.
Potentially, yes.
Is there a time limit on this when this has to be approved?
Well, I certainly think they would appreciate if we would be able to respond to them as soon as we can. So I'm hopeful that we can, if there's concerns or questions, we can get those detailed out soon. So, being collaborative with the county is my goal, and wanting to work with them and expressing your concerns to them. I've done that, and so I want to make sure we continue to do that.
I'm not sure this was going to be the only community that may have some objections to the plan.
I was at the public hearing, and they certainly had some concerns from other communities that they worked through, to the best of my knowledge, at least the big issues. I don't know that anyone was 100% happy, because really any local cost means probably the local's not going to be 100% happy, but I think there was some resolution to some of those major concerns. City of Baxter had some concerns, and they worked through a lot of those issues, but certainly there were comments as part of that process.
big, I think the big issue here is, in a sense, there's two things. One I've stated already, and that is be responsible for your own sandbox. So that's my take. They should be responsible for their roads. We should be responsible for ours. If there's tiny little places where they overlap, great. That's one thing. But to say, well, you're going to pay 18% of the design or the engineering costs, you're going to pay us $105,911 for city engineering costs, and they're getting, I don't know how many millions of dollars a year in their 0.5% sales tax, after they cut their road budget by about the amount of money that they're getting in the road tax. I think the county needs to evaluate their situation a little bit. I don't know what they're getting. It's $4 to $5 million, $6 million off the sales tax per year, and they cut a lot of that out of their budget in the past. And instead of keeping their budget somewhere where it was and saying, hey, now we have a way to help make it better, they're saying, we've lowered our budget, and I don't know if they increased any this year. I'll be honest, I didn't look, but I think my feeling is they need to take a look at their budget and how they're approaching the other cities, townships.
Could we approve this agreement subject to consideration of Article 9, which is the maintenance item, so that it is more clearly defined with who pays what for the maintenance costs of this contract? Or not?
Thomas Adobo? I don't know if that muddies it too much.
If you did that, and then we got clarity on those things, what if we didn't like it? We've already approved it. Subject to, yeah, okay. Back to what you're saying, Fred, I agree with everything you're saying, but maybe I'm being naive, but their policy's in place. Can we change it? Will they change it?
If you remember what they had brought up and discussed and what we talked about back, however long ago it was, 8 months ago, or 10 months, or 12 months, or however long, they were, and I think Tim Bray might have been the one who said it, it was said, well, every city has a right to say, no, we're not going to participate, and then the county has to look at what they want to do. Then they'd have to look at, do they want to take on that cost? Do they feel that it's, and that's kind of somewhat what precipitated the review of their policy was many, communities were saying, no, we're not buying this, It's just kind of what I said. You guys are getting the 0.5%, and you cut your budget back, and now you want us to kick in. It's like, why, this is the whole thing that I just kind of laid out. And I know where Tim Bray, I think was fairly open as he could be as to what his thoughts were, and I'm not sure how they ended up here, but obviously it was not what the county highway department was seeking, because they were seeking the county to pay for everything. That was the proposal to the county board. So somewhere, and I haven't followed it, but somewhere in there, they decided to still seek to charge the communities. And I know there's other communities in the area here that are, what I would like us to do is say, initially, we're not very excited about this. What do you guys think about it? Or let's get together face to face and let's talk about it. And, because this is, I'm most concerned about the Nissel residents and our budget. But again, I do know, and it was brought up by the county, we are kind of one of the couple guinea pigs, because we're one of the first two communities that they're going to be doing work in. And And the feedback that the county gets will, from these first communities, will, set a little bit of a,
Precedent?
well, or a feeling. I mean, that's, I hate that, that's the word I was going to use, but I was trying to come up with something else. It's going to say, hey, we're still not really agreeing with you guys on this. Set the tone for further discussions. I know this is not what the highway department or the county road department had brought to. Tom?
Maybe offer a suggestion. I know they changed the cost share split for construction, but the maintenance policy older, that could change. If that's the same policy as 5 years. If it's unchanged, really, unless you want to look for a new policy. I'm guessing if the maintenance policy hasn't changed.
That's very possible. But I think that, the county has said, if a community, township, city, whatever, does not agree, they can say no. And then the county has to review review the project and decide how they want to move forward with it. They can either come back with some new numbers, or they could say, we're going to pay for it ourselves. Then it's in their court to look to negotiate it out.
I asked a question to the city engineer. You know what stage they are? Are bids let on this project yet?
Yes, bids, Anderson Brothers has been awarded the project, and construction has started. They've cleared and grubbed.
We're pulling stumps today. I saw that, yeah.
Yes. So
So
I guess,
they really need some decision from us tonight.
well, I guess, from I'll say, the city has already entered into resolution authorizing, you did that last year, authorizing into the project. So you're in with the project based on, Steve, the county engineer, Mr. Bray, was here last year. Right, he needed your yes, that, you agreed to the project before he was going to proceed with it.
To do it within the city limits.
To do it within
Right,
the city limits,
right.
yep.
Yep.
So, I'll be honest, one thing that would have been nice for the, I guess if I were, give me an idea of what these maintenance costs are over the next 20 years. Are they $500 a year, or, this is a major intersection with a lot of striping, signal modifications, drainage. It would kind of be nice to know, because, and then, they say the city and the county shall be responsible. Well, then, to have an example, what is your share of it? Because you're picking up very little drainage from Smiley Road south, north. Some communities like Baxter will have a large drainage area coming in, so they get hit with a large percentage of the participated cost. But I guess that is one thing it would be nice to see from the county. 4.9, what is your estimate of how what are they going to be, and how are they going to be divided?
So in some regards, you're saying we're too late.
No, absolutely not. And I was just going to bring this up. What they sought at that last meeting, and it was I asked them before the meeting and during the meeting, all they were seeking at the last meeting was an okay to seek bids. And they said, you are not committed, and I think we asked them if we were committed to anything more than that, and they said no. And I think if we would listen to the tape of that meeting, we would find out that is exactly what they said. All they were looking to do was seek bids to take the next step, and that they would be coming back to us for further approval.
I would say the only thing we did commit to was purchasing right-of-way in front of the church and doing the trail. We did commit to that.
That's right.
So I'm just,
Right.
well, but that's
Yeah, no.
a part of that.
So I apologize there. To me, that's a given, so
Okay,
that's all,
I just
that's
wanna make
there
sure.
regardless. I'm not saying we don't have anything, that we have no commitment to the $55,900. It's item like.
It's the
A and B,
90,000
It's
difference.
125,000 above that number, the 105 and the 19,000.
Well, look, I think the construction costs and the maintenance costs are a different state.
Totally. Two
So
different
we,
discussions.
yeah, they're different discussions, so the 180,000 that we're looking for tonight, the approval for tonight, is what we're looking for. We just want clarification on what the maintenance over the next X amount of years is gonna be.
Before we agree to the
Right.
whole package.
Right.
If this is presented as a package, the way I'm thinking about it, if this is presented as a package of, we agree to the 180,000, and we agree to the rest of what they have here, then it's one piece. If we separate it and we say, this is how we feel about one, this is how we feel about the other, I mean, that's what we have the right to go back to the county with and ask those things. And trust me, I'm gonna be on the phone tomorrow with them anyway, so they're gonna catch an earful. Probably even go meet with Tim Ray, so.
I'm assuming this, or is it safe to assume that the 19,000, the engineering cost, part of that, I'm guessing, does include the trail, right?
Well, it would be 18% of $55,900, because that's our piece, so whatever that is, yeah, that could be potentially, but I think it's worth clarifying. They don't clarify if it's part of that or not.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's worth clarifying too.
The 18% is based on the estimated construction cost of $105,911. So you multiply that figure by .18 and you get to $19,064. And just like when we did the, the project in 2018 with the county, then once the final construction costs are known, then the engineering costs are adjusted to 18% of that number. If they go down, they go up, that 18% number also varies. That's why they use the word estimated on it.
Right, but my question or point was, the engineering included the trail, so.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, but we don't know how much it was the trail, how much was the road.
It's about 40,000 for the trail, because it was about 90 total for the right-of-way and the trail.
Okay.
So if you took that off of this construction, we'd have what's left of just the road project.
Okay.
Mark, maybe you can help. What is the estimated, that first $105,911, estimated city construction cost? What is that, where does that number come from?
Well, I guess as Jenny, right, well, a portion of it is the trail. Like if you look at their plan sheet 63, we now have the 10-foot bituminous trail coming from the ped ramps on 71, all the way back in front of Wendy's and stuff. So I'm just, as Jennifer said, they've estimated about, based on the bid price, there's about $40,000 in trail costs that the city has added into this project that you're paying for. So then offer, the other portion of that is your share. Based on the runoff, we're getting enough Smiley, you're paying for part, they're taking all the stormwater now. So they're charging you for some of their new storm sewer system that's being put in. You're not physically really paying for any bituminous out on Casal 13. Like I say, it's for the, when the curb and gutter goes around and goes back onto Smiley Road to finish the radiuses and everything, what your cost participation is essentially what's being done outside of the, on your portion of the project on Smiley Road South, Smiley Road North, and how they have their, you got to lay the cost breakdown. Even the ped ramps out on 371 at the stoplight, you're paying for a percentage of those. The county is, but because they consider it's benefiting the businesses and the residences of Nisswa to cross in that ped, so, because you remember we decided we didn't want the improvements onto Schaefer's.
On the south side.
Nobody's going to walk there, we said, so we to drop cost, that's part of the reduction, is the city took those out of the plan. But that's what I'm offering, that $105,900, there's more than a dozen things that make up your, that come into that cost, but with a large portion of it also being the trail that is being, the 10-foot wide bituminous trail that is being constructed as part of this project.
So the right-of-way costs, the estimated right-of-way costs are basically a combination of east side and west side by Wendy's, as well as in front of the church.
Right, with 95 or more of it being in front of the church.
Church, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
these other areas, already.
It's already within the right-of-way, so there was very minimal.
As you can see, the
interaction,
county
but-
above is, their figure, that's, I mean, that's pretty well known. They're buying another $73,200 of right-of-way. They had to buy for the stormwater basin up there by Wausau Homes. They're buying some from Grandview where they put storm basin number 2. So they're purchasing right-of-way, they also have right-of-way with the project.
There's local costs to the city for mobilization, excavation, common embankment, aggregate base, lots of different size pipe, I'll say, summarizing that. Oops. I mean, there's a variety, concrete.
But the point, I think,
I'm just saying, that's
I
it.
mean, yeah, they're piling it on.
Yep.
I was in construction for 38 years. I know a lot about how things get piled in there and they make it look like. The reality is, if the city had said, we're not going to put in any trail, we're not going to do any access or anything, there was zero cost, they would still be coming to the city for an awful lot of this money. That's my point. I mean, the $55,900 they wouldn't, and rightfully so. But the rest of it, they'd still be coming. They're getting the 0.5%. They've cut their road budgets. They told us, we have the right to say no. And then it's in their court to do then they'll huddle up and they'll say, okay, what do we want to do? Do we want to look to adjust that? Do we want to negotiate it? Do we want to just eat it? They'll work out something on their part, and then they'll either come back to, well, they will come back to the city and say, okay, this is what we're thinking, whatever that might be. And I think my take is, well, I've said it twice already, so.
Would it be easier to just say we're going to table this subject to consideration of the Section 9 maintenance? We want more information on the maintenance cost or anticipated maintenance cost and some clarification on some of the numbers for construction and just table it for those two items.
Well, it's a good question. To me, it sounds like basically that we're agreeing to it rather than saying, we talked about it tonight and we're just kind of saying we don't agree. Come back with something different.
That's why I said table it with those two items.
Well, but those two items, I mean, number 9, or the next page, Don, which I'm in a lot of agreeance with you there on page 3, that's a separate issue. I mean, it's two separate issues. So I think it'd be important to let the county know how we feel about the $125,000, not the $180,000, because we've agreed we want $55,900.
Do we have an itemized breakdown?
And just kind of say, no, we're not in agreement, and then let them talk about it and get back to us. When they were here some months back, I made dang sure I knew what they were talking about and what they were really saying, and they said, matter of fact, Tim Bray called me that day before the meeting. He said, I want you to know that you are not committing to the whole project. We just want to take the next step to get bids so that we can start looking at costs. And then we will come back to you again for the next approval. So I would like to see I'd like table to be fine, just to let them know that we're not in agreement.
Well, with those two items.
No, just we're not in agreement. Well,
you got to give them some place to look.
sure.
If we're tabling it for a reason. What's the reason? The cost on page 2 and the maintenance cost on page 3. Those are the concerns that we have. Explain, please. No.
Well, and if we do have some description as to how that maintenance stuff works, do you say we have that, or we have a breakdown of the
it's referenced that it's defined in the policy, so we'd have to look at that and see if we can understand what that means, although I don't know that we could tie a cost to that, which I think would be part of what you're looking for, is what is an estimated cost. So we understand future impacts to our budgets for that. Which I can understand that question and wanting clarification.
So either two possibilities. One would be we just vote that we do not agree, and we either vote that up or down, or we could choose to table it and request a face-to-face meeting, and then tell them why we want to get together, what the issues are.
Well, we have an itemized breakdown of the project. How much it's what I was asking, so as far as how much of curb and gutter, how much of, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever it is we're putting in the ground, this is how much we're responsible for that. The maintenance cost, surfacing. Have any of you looked around the city roads and stuff where the snowmobiles have been going and looking at that? If we're going to have those kind of issues, there are going to be significant surfacing costs, potential, especially with a busy intersection like that. So yeah, that definitely has to be clarified, because I'd also like to know how much of this MnDOT's going to pay for, since if it isn't in county right away, it's in MnDOT's right away, because we got to pay for part of MnDOT stuff too. We always do. It's the same thing. I think the county should deal with their own roads and not us, but because past city boards decided to supplant budgets with a half-cent sales tax as opposed to supplement, here we are. So, and they are trying to fix that, I know they're trying to, and I know talking with Mr. Brecken, it's going to take a while to get back to where that half-cent sales tax is actually being used for what it was supposed to be used for. But in the meantime, how much do we got to come up with, and where are we supposed to?
And that's where we can say, no, we're not in agreement with this. We would like to get together and have some face-to-face discussions about it.
And I'm not.
That's where change happens, is when you get pushback.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to just vote no. I think the tabling is maybe a little bit too ambiguous.
If we vote no, just leave it at that. It throws it right back in their court, and then they're going to have to come to us, and we can tell them our issues with it.
Yeah, right, totally.
I mean, the intersection's bad. The intersections need to be fixed. It is a safety issue there. We all know that. But at the same token, when we set our budget, how often we've been working with trying to get an answer, and I know they've been trying to get an answer out of the county board as well since last year, and everyone drags their feet. Well, we have to set our budget. The county has to set its budget, and then they decide what they're going to do with the cost sharing program. Sorry, county board doesn't get it both ways. They should have got on the ball and handled their end of that, so that cities could sit down and say, especially when you have a city like Nisswa where we have 2 county roads that come up to Highway 371, so we're getting nailed by MnDOT and the county for a cost share. It would have been nice to know when we were budgeting so.
And if we vote no,
that's not
then
necessarily
we
the county
express that to
engineer's
them at
problem.
that time.
That's,
Well, the question is to say no or to table.
No what?
No or to table. One of the two.
I think it's no, and that's my take.
Well, that would be for a vote.
Yeah, well, right,
Yeah.
and I'm just sharing my thought.
but then we reach out and say no. We voted no, and they can come on up and we can talk. Or we can go down there and talk.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think, I know I shared with you, with the council. I went to the state county meeting that out at the highway department where nobody ever goes and sat in on a meeting that nobody ever sits in on. And I know the county board was there, the highway department was, they were all there. I know that conversation really well. And I have some, a little bit, not recent knowledge, but previous months back knowledge about how some of the commissioners feel about it. And I think it's very reasonable to just say, no, but we want to talk about it, but we're not accepting this.
What happened with Jenkins? Jenkins told them no, and did the project go forward anyway?
Which project now, John?
I think they were redoing 112 or whatever that is, going up behind Apine.
So they did win on a fair bit of it, but then because they added a lot of trail in that too. So they negotiated. There was some negotiations, and obviously they paid for that piece of it, and then there were some negotiations. Jenkins has a really good mayor. I mean, he is one of the sharper guys I've met, actually, and he knows how to. He talks to those people a lot about projects. So, so would somebody like to make a motion, and we'll see where it goes?
I would move that we reject the construction cost share agreement that has been presented by Crow County, and invite them in for further discussion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ryan. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And did you vote?
I voted aye.
Aye. Okay. Don, did you vote?
No, but I did mentally.
Okay. So 4 to, actually it's unanimous then, isn't it? Okay. Okay, very good.
Were you
I can assure you, I will be reaching out to Mr. Bray and Mr. Brecken tomorrow morning. Start some discussion.
Well, I don't think either two of them are going to disagree with us.
No. No, but that's our starting point, so we'll see where it goes from there. And I'm sure we will be getting together with them here. So if I'm not mistaken, we are on item E6, PFA of application and transmittal form for wastewater treatment facility expansion. A resolution of application and transmittal form with application fee. So we'll start out with A, resolution of application. Jenny, Mark, who would like to, Don, you want to?
I think we're going to do it. I'd move the resolution number 20 as presented by staff and authorize the mayor to sign the documents.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Any questions? Wait for that. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6A is approved. 6B, transmittal form with application fee. Don, you want to lead us away on that?
I'll move that we authorize the transmittal form application and the fee as outlined in the staff report, and authorize the mayor and authorize the mayor to sign the documents necessary.
Second.
Seconded by Hoff. Discussion on motion. Clarifications. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item E7, authorization to bid for lift station 3, which is on corner of Nokomis and East. Any questions, discussion before we look to motion? By anybody?
Just a question, you put the new one in, what happens with the old one? Is just filled in, or what do you do?
Mark would probably, the engineer would probably answer that.
Yep, as part of when the couple, and that's what we talked with, when we met here with Public Works, and one of the things Mark and I asked about was work hours. But at the day we switched over down, like you say, the existing wet well and precast wet well and valve vault and the piping physically come out of the ground and go to Hengel landfill,
Fill the hole in.
and we fill the hole in.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so we're not, right now, like I say, we've talked, the only component we're talking about reusing is the existing lift station 3 control panel to move it down to, lift station 4. So that would be the only component that would be reused. Otherwise, everything else is demoed and landfilled.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a recommendation that we authorize the bid for lift station 3 as outlined by staff.
Second.
Seconded by Hoff. Any questions on the motion? One thing I'm going to put in there is, I'm not going to put in there, I'm just going to mention, and that is Grandview was in favor of this and the new location, but they have some real concerns about odor and filtering. That Mark, I talked with Mark a little bit, I think, after the last meeting or two back, and I'm not quite sure if that's where that is or going.
All right.
But it's going to, something that's going to be, it's going to be looked at, is that, or there's...
Well, it has been, and like you say, right now, what we're proposing is that as part of the lift station, the new lift station construction, will be actually a filtering system that the city will have to maintain. It'll use essentially charcoal, carbon based, whether it's wood chips, and then there's a fan, and it takes the wet well atmosphere and essentially takes the hydrogen sulfide and brings it through, and to help reduce the odor and vent it out. The idea is to prevent the hydrogen sulfide from building up in large concentrations in your wet well, and then when the lift station cycles, you get the whiff coming out the vent or through the hatch. So I mean, that's there are provisions being made in the in the bid documents for an odor control system. As I told, when we, in Public Works, it's a lift station, it's wastewater, there are always odors at certain times of the year, just when air temperatures and everything, but right now, we're going to make provisions to, greatly reduce those odors. When they built it back, that lift station originally had a peat system underground, the plan was that it would just vent over to that, but there was no forced ventilation. And that's the biggest thing, is I've done other lift stations in other communities. You need the fan, you need the motor to turn on and run, 15 minutes every hour just to help vent, help vent the lift station out. And the biggest thing is actually preventing the hydrogen sulfide from building up, at higher levels that become very odorous. I use the word very odorous. They're there. There's always going to be some odor associated with the lift station at certain days of the year. Yep.
Anything else before we vote?
Mr. Mayor, well, we don't have a motion.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. We have a motion and a second.
What?
Yeah. We're discussing.
I missed that?
It's okay. It's happened to all, well, maybe not all of us, but it's happened actually before. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item E8, approved easement for lift station on Nokomis Avenue. For lift station 3 on Nokomis Avenue.
I will propose, or motion to approve the proposed easement for the new lift station located on Nokomis Avenue, and authorize staff and the city attorney to finalize legal documents with ETOC Company Incorporated.
Second.
Second by Jacobson. Any discussion on the motion?
Tom, is that motion sufficient to keep this moving forward? I want to make sure that's phrased correctly, or anything else?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Have you had preliminary discussions? I see Mark's notation on here from Public Works about the sketch, but have you had discussions with?
With Mark Runai?
Yeah.
Yes, supportive.
He's good with this?
He's good with everything, yes.
So when the time comes, committed to signing it?
Yes.
Then I think you're fine, yeah?
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item E9, approve purchase agreement between the City of Nisswa and Kerry Rosinski and Thomas Briggs for approximately 4 acres of property adjoining the city water treatment.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the Minnesota Standard Residential Purchase Agreement for the Rosinski Bridge property as presented by staff and authorize the mayor to sign such documents as may be necessary.
Here's second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ryan. Any discussion on the motion?
That 54,000 is coming out of the total expansion
It's-
project?
Yes, part of the project, yes.
Okay.
Tom, you've done title work on this, or you are going to do title work on this, or title insurance, or?
Title work will be done, and yeah, a policy will be suggested.
Okay.
Yep. We also have a lot split issue that we have to do with this. Or no,
Not with this one. The other property is still moving forward.
Confused on the other one, sorry. Okay. No, this one's clear sailing, yeah.
You're rubbing off, Don.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who's rubbing off on who.
Don has more hair.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's white.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Item E10, approve City of Nisswa Pay Equity Implementation Report for 2019. Any questions or discussion by council on that?
I had a question.
Mr. Jacobson.
On the cover page, paragraph number 2, the last line, it says, the city therefore would not be found in compliance with this test.
Yes.
Could you explain that a little bit better?
I can kind of explain it. The state has their programs that we enter in all of our employee data, pay rates, scale information, number of people within each position, and then it spits out whatever the results are of the 4 tests. For this second test, we weren't in compliance. And when I asked Springstead, well, what do we do about that? She said, we're going to wait and see what the state responds with. So they will notify us somewhere probably mid to late year as far as how to get in compliance. We may have to resubmit our information as whatever that current date is, and maybe at that point we are in compliance. If we're plus or minus an employee in a certain category, sometimes that just throws the scales. It wasn't a great answer, but I tried to say, can we fix this? And it was not right at this time. So she didn't seem overly concerned, but there will be some follow-up at some point this year to make a correction.
So we don't pass the test, but we have to wait till the end of the year to find out how to fix it. And that may be firing somebody to get in compliance or adding somebody to get in compliance?
Who knows?
That might be advantageous.
It had to do in part with our part-time liquor staff, and so it doesn't have anything to do with our full-time employees. It's a part-time thing, so I'll follow up when I hear from them. It doesn't happen too quickly, but sorry. But yes, that's the best I have right now.
This is probably a dumb question. Are we required to do this? Or
We are, every 3 years,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
I will move to approve the City of Nisswa Pay Equity Implementation Report for 2019.
second?
Seconded by Johnson. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. Item E11, adopt sustainable purchase policy.
So this draft policy came about as part of our engagement in the Green Step Cities program. It's required to obtain Step 3 designation, and there are things that staff does already as far as factoring in when we make our purchases, but to actually have it documented in a formal policy approved by the council is a requirement, and I have run the draft policy by all the departments. Nobody has any concerns, and so I'm asking for your approval just to have it officially on the books.
Seems fairly vague.
The policy or my
No.
description?
The policy.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty straight, sorry. I mean, it's kind of a feel-good sort of thing.
Yes, in a certain sense, yes.
It's not mandating that we have to do.
It gives us some room to
this.
consider factors as cost and things like that. We're certainly not going to pay 200% more for something if it, just to meet this standard. But if it's within a reasonable amount, we should consider it.
Well, I understand that if we pass this and we fail in one or two categories, the mayor has to pay a penalty.
As amended.
Good thing I get paid a lot.
I would move to approve the sustainable purchase policy as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item E12, personnel updates. Jenny.
We have 3 new firefighters and 1 retirement. Shannon from the Pickle is going to be retiring, which is very exciting for her, so.
Fire department has, what, maybe picked up about a half a dozen new faces?
They should be very close to,
They're getting close now, yeah, within just a couple, so, yeah, it's been good. They've had some interest, and I think it's been a while since they've actually had people reaching out to them to engage with the department, so
and it's a
it's
young
very positive.
department.
Yeah, that's
It's a young department, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the parade watching them drive the fire trucks. I wouldn't say they looked like 12 or 14, but they looked like fine young men, yes.
I'll move to accept the personnel updates as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Jacobson. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item E13, approve easement between City of Nisswa and RAR Development, Inc., which I did not know what that was, so I asked Jenny, and council's probably way ahead of me, but it is the kind of the easement piece between the elderly housing, or whatever that is called.
Hills Crossing,
Hills
yep.
Crossing,
Senior
and
living,
there you go, senior living.
Yep.
you're
And,
having a senior moment?
I always have to, daily.
Question. The plat just north of here, as drawn, had a road going in and coming in here that was blocked because we didn't have the easement and stuff. If we sign this, is it possible then to build the road without any further problem?
Yeah, I believe it is. There is a side issue between RAR and Rusty Gibbons over the retaining wall that got built in that area there that won't block the right-of-way, but I think is somewhat on Rusty's land, and so they're working that out. But the short answer to what you asked is yes. And this is the culmination of something you first brought to our attention. How long did it take me to get this done?
Year and a half?
A long time. Yeah. And so this is literally, I understand from talking to the RAR folks late last week, this was put in the mail, signed by Adam Dietrich on behalf of RAR. So once it is, I'll get it up here for the mayor's signature, and then we'll get it recorded, and then that will be taken care of.
Sure Rusty will be happy about that, too.
I'll move the city council accept the easement from RAR Development Hills Crossing as presented by staff and authorize the mayor to sign any documents necessary.
For a second?
Second.
seconded by Ryan. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item E14, memo from Jenny Mack, City Administrator, regarding cell tower lease.
This is just an informational update for the council at this time. Just wanted to let you know that I am, have had conversations with American Tower, who currently leases our cell tower. They're looking to renew their lease, I think, for their purposes, but as part of that, we've had some interest in constructing a different access road to get it away from accessing through our sewer plant and our maintenance facility, and so we're working through those details. I just emailed the draft to Tom just before the meeting here for him to start to look at it and for us to work together, but I just wanted to just let you know that this was on the radar, and I'll bring it forward at some point in the next few months for your review and input.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, question, Jenny? You know, we've had some people who live north and west of City Hall complaining to us about cell phone coverage. In opening discussions with these people, is there any possibility that they might be, I shouldn't use the word coerced, encouraged to put in a repeater or something up here to fix that hole in the coverage?
That's certainly something I can make a note of, because that would be a good connection. I don't know if these companies are the same that do the smaller cell antennas, like on the light poles, but certainly worth asking the question and seeing if we can get something done over on this side of town.
Now, and just out of curiosity, is I think, I really don't have a clue. So I will ask, the people who own the tower, is it actually a cell phone company, or is it a company that then leases out space? So
yes.
The people, so just regarding your question, does the people we have a lease agreement with, do they have any authority or any ability to do anything with that matter?
They may or may not. I don't know, but certainly can.
If they say they don't, you may ask them if they know which one of their people on the tower might be good to talk with.
Sure.
And see if you can gain any knowledge off of them about it.
Right.
They want a lease extension.
What's that?
If they want a lease extension,
Two different spots.
right, but if they want us to give them a lease extension, then I would think they could do what is necessary to get what we need.
They could go twist the arms of the people who have, well, I like the way you think. I don't oppose it, so.
I think the problem you have with the section of town that Don's talking about is you have the cell tower east on 18, you have the cell tower down by Public Works. And the problem with that area is because it all works on line of sight and they're so low there, you literally need to put another antenna, because it's all omnidirectional antennas. And you're going to need something that can get line of sight to something. That's why they're experiencing the problem there. If there's fiber optics and stuff down there, there's other options for them. It's going to be more costly per homeowner to do it. But they could actually, if they're sitting there, they could actually build something on their own property that would grab their signal would go to that, and then it would boost and shoot it out. But through the computer even. So it's a terrain issue is the big problem. And I don't know that they'd get the permission to build another tower somewhere where it could go. But I had an idea I was going to talk to Lenny about on that too, about if one of them was even willing to put up a TV antenna, the old, something that, a tower for a TV antenna that goes up 30 to 60 feet. And then they put their own.
It's over 25 feet.
They'd have to get a variance.
Yeah. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that is maybe kind of along the line of what, Don, you were saying, repeaters. Which would probably be on something very small, that would just be high enough to get it to another tower.
They can make them about the size of a lamppost.
Yeah. Just needs to be able to be high enough to see the nearest tower. That's all it needs to do.
Well, it never hurts to ask.
Absolutely.
So put on your best,
They may
Arm
even know
twisting.
something that, technology-wise.
stare them down.
It might be cheaper if they go to 5G, just buy everybody a new phone down.
All you have to do is say, your lawyer said.
Yeah, there you go.
That works.
Sorry, Tom.
That's what I'm here for.
Old business, F. Both of these, I believe, are part of your message today, that we are going to just move those on to March. Do you have any information that you just want to drop right now, or is it just, let's just wait till March?
I don't. I didn't get to either, but definitely will follow up next month. Hopefully we have a shorter new business section next month, so.
Thank you. G, council reports, mayor report. I was at the Jubilee this weekend. Spent some time there. Was part of the parade and handing out candy and talked with obviously citizens, but afterwards I talked with some of the people, the local citizens who are passionate about it and putting on that event, and have been putting on the event the last couple of years now. They were thrilled the weather was as nice as it was. They would really would like to continue to revitalize that event, and looking for some new blood to be part of that. And that's part of what they're going to be working on this next year.
How was the attendance?
For the parade, I'd say that 1,000 people, something like that. I heard it was, like probably the 8th or what the 4th of July is. From the caboose all the way down, past Ganley, there was a lot of people. But it wasn't like 30 deep like it is.
Yeah.
It was probably 8 deep or something like that. So, yeah, people seem to have a certainly nice day. People seem like they're having a really nice time. I heard the pickle was pretty busy that evening. Busy enough to where if you wanted to play pool, you were pretty much holding your cue like straight up in the air. So, so I haven't seen Terry since to ask him about it, but it sounded like, it was a pretty good weekend. I know they would like to see it at least double, if not more. But it's a process to kind of rebuild it. Got quiet there for a while, so, the JCs are not, NISBA doesn't have JCs anymore. That 30 years ago, the JCs were a big part of that. But the group that is involved is pretty committed and looking for continue to grow it. So, and then I will be touching base with Bill Brackett and Tim Bray tomorrow, and at least if nothing more, get a message to them that talk with them. But I will let Jenny primarily handle that, get things lined up, and I'll just put an elbow on there back a little bit. We want to work with them, but let's have some discussion. That's all I have. John, anything?
No.
Mike, what do you have?
Got nothing?
Okay. Gary?
Ditto.
Don?
Adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have our dates listed here for our meetings, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.